In today's podcast episode, we're diving back into our series all about messaging evolvement. And today we're talking about level number 5. So let's do this. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. All right, welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Today we are talking all about level 5 of the messaging evolvement. Now remember, there are 6 levels. We're not digging into level number 6 because level number 6 is mastery. That is when you have fully achieved full mastery, and it's when you're literally changing the game. But in order to get to that level, first you have to master each and every one of these levels. And it's very rare when we see people come in and reach the level of mastery because it takes time. It really does. It takes dedication. It takes consistency. And sometimes, some of the bigger clients have been in business for 8 years or so will come in and they come in with some level of mastery. James Wedmore is a perfect example of someone we've worked with who, was on the brink of mastery or even, had it to some degree. And messaging was just helping him evolve even more into the mastery or communicating his mastery. And same thing with Bob Healig's another example. Caitlin Batcher, Jim Fortin are all examples of people who've been working on their craft for 5 years, 10 years or more and have achieved that level. And then they continue to achieve that level. But in order to get there, we have to go through all of these levels. And so if you haven't listened to the past episodes, please go do that now, where we talk about an overview of all the levels and then a deep dive into each level. And this is level number 5. And I would say there's maybe 5% of the people that we work with come in at this level. So it's really awesome to see people grow to this level as they come through our program. But basically, this is the in-demand entrepreneur. And this is a great place to be. And a lot of people will stay at this level. And that's fine if that's what you want. But here's what it is. This is basically, you start to feel solid and you feel like you have scalable traction inside of your business. You're likely seeing consistent growth from month to month. Sales are more predictable than ever. You feel like things are finally starting to work. You likely know how to convert cold traffic at this point. So your ads are working, they're converting, your sales mechanism's converting. People are responding to your content. They are staying for and through your sales mechanisms, meaning they're showing up for your webinar, your challenges, your live streams, all of that stuff. And they're staying for it. And they want to buy. Like halfway through your sales mechanism, they're saying like, give me the link, I want to buy. Or even before your sales mechanism, people are like, I want to buy. You're getting DMs from people saying, I want to buy. How do I work with you? Again, in fact, you may be getting people DMing, asking how to work with you before you ever pitch anything. If you're at this level, then you are on your way to becoming a 7-figure entrepreneur, business owner, if you're not there already. You likely also feel confident in what you're doing, what you're saying, and what you stand for. You have this balance of standing for something, not being afraid of haters, standing behind your message, being a little polarizing, and you know that your message, uninterrupted, as authentic as it can be, is important, and you're not going to bend it for anything. You've learned how to attract the eyeballs, keep them, and create demand. But, again, we're not there yet, so there is a but. You also know there is more, and you know this won't last forever. You know you're kind of still seen as like a leading expert versus instead of a thought leader who's changing the space. People still aren't saying like, I came just for this methodology, right? Like people who want to learn NLP are coming in because they want to learn NLP. They're not coming in because they want to learn language patterns from a language expert. They want to learn NLP, right? People that learn Hero's Journey on how to tell a story using the Hero's Journey aren't coming in because they want to learn how to tell a story. They're coming in because they want to learn the Hero's Journey. So although you are doing well, people may not be coming to you exactly for your IP or your unique solution yet. If you stay at this level and you don't change anything, you generally will last about 2 or 3 years at this level until your messaging becomes old, dated, and victim to competitors because they catch up and catch on to what you're doing. And I've seen a lot of people do this. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who come in really quick and move to this level really fast. And then they either die out, they blend in, or they go somewhere else. Like they don't exist anymore inside the space. And they had a 2 or 3 year run doing what they did because they became outdated, they became old, they became victim to competitors. They didn't adjust or evolve. And I'm not going to name names, but I've seen this happen a lot. This has happened a lot. And I actually see some people going through this now who've built a business really fast, became that in-demand entrepreneur, got comfortable, stayed there, kept doing the same thing, didn't focus on mastery. And now the industry is chewing them up and about to spit them out. And if you're there, it's probably because you haven't focused on mastering your messaging yet. You haven't focused on it in a while. And here's the other thing too, if you left this planet today, like you ended up getting an accident or whatever, I'm not wishing that on anyone, obviously, but let's just say that happened. Your work that you're doing right now, it would leave with you. Meaning that there's nothing that's going to last beyond you. You haven't built something that's going to last beyond you. So again, going back to NLP is going to last through the ages. Hero's Journey is going to last through the ages. Some of what I'm working on, I know will live beyond me, things like thought reversals and stuff like that. You haven't looked at the difference between changing the direction of your industry versus continuing to educate an industry that has already been created. So if you're the in-demand and you're not moving to that next level, your focus is usually on continuing to educate an industry that already exists versus moving the direction of your industry or creating a brand new one. Big difference there. And that's how I look at my work is I want to change the direction of how online business owners look at content and messaging and communication, or just create a completely different space. I don't want to continue to educate a space that is already existing. So here's the cause of being stuck here. If you're at this level, it's because you have put things into action. You've learned, you've adjusted, you've done the testing, you've done the work, you've done some deeper work to understand who you are and who you're speaking to on a very deep, specific level. And you need to do more of it. You probably haven't done it as to the level that you need to yet. But because you're still looking at yourself as an expert, you're likely still an expert at your industry or your strategy, your niche, or your industry. And because you still view yourself as an expert, regurgitating the same thing or just teaching all the time, and you really look at yourself as an expert over a strategy, a niche, or an industry, you will still continue to just teach an industry instead of changing or creating a new one. Let me give you an example. If you're a YouTube expert and you're an in-demand entrepreneur, you might have a 7-figure business teaching YouTube. And that's what you are. You still see yourself as a YouTube expert. The problem with that is you're still teaching a platform versus completely revolutionizing how that platform is used or your teachings or how to utilize it or whatever. You're still just regurgitating or teaching a platform or a strategy. You haven't elevated to thought leader yet. And you will stay as an in-demand entrepreneur until you make that shift. What you're building isn't something that will last the generations. And again, if you're just teaching like how to teach YouTube and you pass away, YouTube's going to move on without you. Your teachings are going to be outdated. They're going to be forgotten because they're not relevant anymore. But if you create something timeless, you create a completely new space, and you're just now looking at YouTube as a tool that fuels something bigger, well, now you're onto something. Now you're becoming that new generation mastery level. Okay, so it's not timeless what you're creating. It is very influenced by industry changes because you're not changing the industry, someone else is, and you're just surviving within it now. Here's what I mean by this. What I'm doing right now inside of my space is I'm getting people off of how-to content and depending 100% all on how-to content. I'm changing that game. I'm changing the space for content creation and messaging inside of the online marketing space. Everyone else that is teaching content right now, they are at the mercy of what I'm teaching, because I'm teaching people to move away from what they're teaching, which means in order to survive, they're going to have to adjust, and they're going to be adjusting to what I'm doing. I'm not adjusting what I'm doing to anyone else. I'm not adjusting because someone else is changing the space and I now have to adapt. I'm changing the space. I'm creating a new one, and people are going to have to adapt to that. As an in-demand entrepreneur, although you're thriving, you're still having to adapt to what other people are doing inside of your space in order to survive. If your platform changes something tomorrow, like you're a YouTube expert and they change something tomorrow, you're at the mercy of what they do. I'm not at the mercy of what I'm doing, because what I'm teaching isn't dependent on a strategy. It's a philosophy that can go into any platform, into something else. I'm not a strategy expert, a platform expert. I'm a thought leader inside of my space. A lot of the emotions and beliefs and stuff that you'll have is you'll probably feel great here. You will feel a sense of accomplishment and a sense of relief, and you should. Like, this is a great place to be, and a lot of people can stay here for a while. And you may feel like you made it, but again, there's more. You're starting to realize your message and just teaching a platform or a strategy or something is a little empty and meaningless. You want something more impactful and meaningful. And you're probably in your journey, you probably have been dedicated for at least 2 years within our process and our program. You may have been inside of our mentorship program for a year or so, or maybe even a couple of years as well. But we have seen this happen in as little as 2 months, and I've also seen it happen in as long as 3 years, and sometimes even more. It just depends on where you're at inside of your journey. But that is level 5, and that is where you want to be. And once you're at level 5, and again, it's hard to skip levels. It's hard to go from level 1 right to level 5. You're going to have to go through level 1, 2, 3, and 4. But once you're at level 5, you can relax a little bit. Like, you did it. Your messaging's pretty on point. But there's going to have to be a deeper transformation to the next level. You're going to have to go deeper in the work that you're doing. You're going to have to discover more things. Because remember, when you have mastery, it's not that you just put in more work and experience. It's also that you not only know a solution, you know multiple solutions. You know it deeper than anyone else. You know the specifics. And you have to encompass that into your messaging now. And again, you have to discover things inside of your space that other people haven't discovered yet, which allows you to teach things that other people haven't taught yet. That's level 6. That's when you have new generation mastery. And then you just continue to discover and teach and discover and teach and discover and teach. And when you have mastery and you can run that hamster wheel successfully where you discover and teach, you're always leading your space. You're always creating your space. So if you're at level number 5 and you're not sure how to get to the next level, well, we have a ton of training. Or you know what? If you're at any level 1, 2, 3, and 4, or 5, and you're not sure how to get to that next level, we have a ton of training, boot camps, 2-day events, stuff coming up to teach you how to move yourself through these different phases and ultimately improve your messaging, improve your content, improve your demand creation. So with that said, pay attention to the podcast. We will be giving you more information. We will be running ads. Get on our email list. Follow us anywhere and everywhere on Instagram to get prepared, because we have a ton of stuff coming over the next couple months for you. So that's it for this episode. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.